Death is a bloody inconvenience. If it wasn't for the Grim Reaper's icy caress, we could all live forever and play games until we were slowly crushed by overcrowding and mountains of obsolete consoles. Alright, I've made that sound awful, but at least we can look to our virtual heroes to see how things might have been. The following list isn't so much full of people who've danced with death then, as stepped on his skeletal toes, vomited on his tuxedo, gone home with someone else, and still lived to tell the tale. Here are 8 gaming characters who'd definitely be dead in real life. When Crystal Dynamics rebooted Tomb Raider back in 2013, they clearly had one goal in mind: to take one of gaming's most iconic heroes on a grueling journey of self-discovery. Which, as we all know, is develop a shorthand for making her suffer and suffer and suffer some more, just in case we didn't get the message. Gaming's favourite archaeologist may be made of sterner stuff, but if Crofty existed in real life, she'd be the mouldering skeleton the next adventurer finds in the tomb, just to warn them how dangerous it is. Within the first 30 minutes of the reboot, Lara is tied up in an underground burial chamber, suspended in midair, shot at and attacked by ravenous wolves. She even gets impaled on a rusty spike, but no amount of pesky internal bleeding is going to stop Miss Croft. Yep, that's right Lara, just walk it off. And her reward for being consistently tougher than a $2 steak? She gets to continually ruin her limbs, jumping around the sad, wet, unwelcoming island of Yamatai and watch most of her travelling companions get killed or kidnapped. Thankfully, Lara Croft survives and is rewarded with a sequel where she tries to ward off hypothermia for 10 hours. Isn't she lucky? Poor old Snake can't catch a break. First, he's blown halfway to Kingdom Come, then he loses 9 years to a medically induced coma. And what does he have to look forward to upon awakening? A body embedded with deadly shrapnel shards.
We discovered 108 foreign bodies embedded within.
But on the plus side, he does get a shiny new Captain Hook hand. Does it open cans or do anything cool like that? No? Okay. The legendary Fox agent should be dead a dozen times over from his previous Metal Gear adventures alone. Spoilers. But the Phantom Payne really ups the seriously how are you still alive factor. Not only does Snake have to drag himself out of hospital, and we really do mean drag, but then he's forced to complete incredibly tense espionage operations in hostile Afghan territory, all with shrapnel stuck in his cerebral cortex and skull. For most people, that would mean instant death or incapacitation. For Snake, it just means this fashionable forehead horn. In real life, Snake would be bedbound, spending every waking hour hoping those bomb fragments don't burrow into his brain, or maybe hoping they would because of all the pain and frustration. In MGS 5, however, he casually saves the world from a sociopathic skeletal wannabe, as if he hasn't already been blasted, burnt, dismembered and impaled. Alright Snake, there's no need to show off. Gaming's most depressed former cop may be a legitimate badass, but if he was a real person, the Bourbon-loving bodyguard would be 6 feet under. Forget the fact that Max I'm in constant pain would be a shell-ridden corpse in our stupid bullet time-free world. It's all those nightly binges on Kong whiskey that will be the real death of this legendary alcoholic sulk. Bleeding out in a football stadium after a hostage negotiation goes wrong should put Mr. Payne's protection days behind him, but not our Max. He shakes off all those piffling gunshot wounds, then proceeds to swan dive around in slow-mo like a grumpy, pickled version of Neo from The Matrix. Thank goodness Max Payne lives in video game Fantasyland then, because in our world, the painkiller munching boozehound would have succumbed to cirrhosis of the liver long ago, and that would make for a rubbish video game. This Ranger of Gondor should be dead, like Boromir dead, like Sean Bean in every film he's ever been in, dead. And unlike every other character on this list, we're sort of cheating here, because Talion does actually die. He just shakes off the death, like a wet dog trying to get dry. During Shadow of Mordor's tutorial, which involves the most stalkery stealth lesson in all of games incidentally, Talion is happily serving at the Black Gate. Well, as happy as you can be, working at an outpost that acts as a direct entrance to the most evil place on Middle-earth. The Ranger soon gets much better acquainted with Mordor real estate when Sauron's forces slay not only his family, but Talion himself. Cue his unlikely, but actually very handy resurrection. Celebrimbor, a revenge-obsessed wraith, brings him back to life. Talion and his undead, unhinged elf chum go about sabotaging Sauron's army, mainly by hacking into the minds of countless orcs, all of whom have amazing names like Poog the Tongue, Skakuga the Defiler, and Norsko the... dead, I guess. Despite getting into roughly 17,000 different scraps with Uruk-hai in the most dangerous place on Middle-earth, Talion somehow survives, which is why you'll see him alive and well in Middle-earth's Shadow of War. Of course, in real life, death doesn't get a sequel, it's more of an unfair one and done kind of deal. If Talion was bound by our mortal coil, he'd currently be pushing up Dunedain daisies. When you switch to the psychotic Trevor Phillips in GTA 5, you never quite know what situation you're going to find him in. Out of Rockstar's criminal Los Santos trio, the trailer park psycho is the one who consistently gets into the most death-defying scrapes. Waking up on a bridge dangling precariously close to the edge in nothing but his tighty whities, fleeing from the LCPD in daring high-speed chases every day of his life, stirring from various drunken stupors in shady back alleys and dumpsters, puking his guts out after eating Lord knows what. If Trevor existed in real life, he'd die 10 times a day. That's without even mentioning all the homicidal escapades GTA 5's main missions throw his way. Minigun shootouts with corrupt cops, firefights with private militia, extra toasty escapes from burning buildings, driving out of a cargo plane while it's airborne. Trevor doesn't just laugh at death, he's the mayor of Lolsville, piloting his personal rufflecopter to Laughing My Ass Off County. In reality, there's not a doctor alive who could keep Trevor breathing. Thankfully, or perhaps not if you're one of his victims, GTA has better healthcare than the real world. We've heard about dodging death, but this one is just silly. John Tanner may be gaming's first entirely coma-bound star. For 95% of Ubisoft's wonderfully daft Driver San Francisco, the Bay Area cop is laid out in an ER bed. Naturally, prolonged unconsciousness of the game wouldn't make for a very exciting open world title, so instead we have some coma-jacking powers. And if I thought saying that out loud might make it sound more sensible, I was definitely wrong. In the real world, Tanner would slowly and sadly vegetate in hospital after his car is totaled by a rampaging truck. But in Driver, he spends his time shifting into San Fran civilians' minds, essentially Google Earthing his way into their subconscious as he steals ride after ride. Luckily, all this coma carjacking actually turns out to be rather lovely. Whether he's helping put 2 kids through college by winning street races, or lending a hand to a learner driver by terrifying his overcharging instructor, Tanner is a sleeping good Samaritan. Video game comas then, much more fun than the real thing. The baldy assassin may earn a living from contract killing, but if Agent 47 carried out his wet work in real life, he'd be a barcode branded corpse by now. Oh, don't worry about them. They're Agents 1 to 46. Just look at Hitman contracts. 47 spends the entire game bleeding out in a Parisian hotel. In reality, he'd have slipped away long before he had time to reminisce about all those culinary-inspired greatest hits. Be it poisoning Russian soup to give a target a deadly bout of diarrhea, or offing a 40-stone Scotsman with a roast chicken, packing a pistol surprise. Hitman Blood Money flips an even bigger bird at reality. 47 literally rises from the grave in this 2006 adventure. After being pricked by a seemingly lethal poison, the suited and booted killer's longtime handler slips him the antidote at his wake. Only in games could a character survive their own funeral, then walk out the lone living soul after gunning down every mourner in the joint, and that's why games are great. Ubisoft might be working on real-life designer prosthetics and replacement limbs, but we're still a long way from the fist chisels and total body reconstruction of Adam Jensen. A mere 20 minutes into Deus Ex Human Revolution, the glorified security guard is fatally injured during a terrorist attack on his employer, Sarif Industries. Thankfully, Human Revolution is set in 2027 and is wonderful sci-fi nonsense, so the treatment Jensen gets is slightly more advanced than the hospitals of today could provide. Despite being shot at point-blank range by a .357 Magnum that won't so much hurt as leave a hole in your head you can store your shoes in, Jensen survives being pulverised by Dirty Harry's favourite gun. Well, sort of. In the end, Adam's injuries are so severe both his arms and legs are amputated, while his chest cavity is also replaced. When Jensen awakes from his operation, he's the proud owner of badass robo-limbs and an increasingly gloomy outlook on life.
I never asked for this.
The new mechanically augmented Adam can throw dumpsters 20 feet through the air, jump the height of a house, and turn invisible at will. In contrast, if he existed in real life, his leftover bits would be used for the less sexy but still very important advancement of medical science. But thankfully, this isn't real life. We can all slump into our chairs, safe in the knowledge that games let us live like digital Rasputins, surviving being shot, stabbed, poisoned, drowned, and shot again just to make sure. Let us know in the comments if you can think of any other indestructible gaming heroes. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to Logitech G for more weekly shows. Thank you for watching.